Our distinguished panelists for this session, our respective organizers and CMF, thank you so much for the invitation, brothers and sisters, ladies and gentlemen. I think to begin with, let us start to understand what is capital market all about. Capital market is always been associated with an exclusive marketplace where we talk about the people like sophisticated investors, we talk about high net worth individuals, we talk about the big corporations, or in the layman term words, we talk about the rich and the super rich people. And why they are so exclusive and why they are so important, why super rich and the rich is very important in the market, in the capital market. Because they are among the few that have the surplus in the unit of economy. Just imagine, ladies and gentlemen, the lower income people or the middle income people have the difficulties in terms of having the savings for their own retirement. Not only retirement, the emergency funds for them is also difficult. And even majority of the lower income people have the difficulties in terms of how they want to fulfill their own basic needs. But for the rich and the super rich people, their discussion is different ball game. Their discussion is more focusing on how to grow their wealth and how to enhance their returns and profit. So this is the difference. And the flip side of that, in the event of the deficit, if this group of people have the deficit or difficulties, they have a lot of options on the table. For example, if they want to raise funding for a certain project, they can go to the bank to get the financing. They can issue a bond for that kind of purpose, or they can let go some of their shares for the purpose of having their company as public listed company. But for the lower income people, if they have the difficulties or the deficit in the terms of economics, so their options is limited, and even if they have the solutions out of it, they will have not an effective solution. So my POV, my point of view on the capital market, we always talk about the rich and the super rich people, and they call as investors. And when we talk about this, the capital market and why is the importance of having the Islamic capital market then, right? So as I mentioned just now, the unit of surplus in the circle of economy consists of rich people. And these rich people, when they talk about the growth in their wealth, they have their own characteristic and appetite, of course. The bottom line should be the profit, how much yield that they can get from the investment. But other consideration, they are talking about risk appetite, for example. Some of them are really open for the high risk investment, and some of them are risk adverse. And some of the investors are looking into the local investment, and some of the investors are looking cross-border investment. So just to bear in mind, to give you information that 25% of the global population is a Muslim population. And we cannot discount the fact that a lot of among these Muslims are rich and the super rich people. Just imagine, ladies and gentlemen, when Philippines issue your first sukuk, it oversubscribed 5 times, right? So this 5 times oversubscribed shows that the demand of the Sharia compliant instrument for investment is very high and very crucial. So I believe this is a right move for the Philippines to grow for your Islamic capital market. And bear in mind, when we talk about the development of Islamic capital market, it is not about the overnight manifestation. It is a journey. Malaysia started our Islamic capital market since 1996. We started with a small group under the Securities Commission Malaysia, just small working group. And alhamdulillah, after 30 years, this year will be 30 years remarkable journey of Islamic capital market in Malaysia. And you can see what is the performance. Can you just go back to the previous and early slide, please? It's too far. The previous slide, please. Again, another slide. Okay, start. So after 30 years, this is the achievement of our Islamic capital market. 63% of the total capital market in Malaysia contributed by Islamic capital market. So we can see the demand, we can see the achievement, and I believe if Philippines want to go further like this, you need to develop your own journey, your own plan to make sure it happens. We believe Philippines can do it because we believe Islam is universal. We can do it at any place and any time. Ladies and gentlemen, this next slide mentions about the opportunity in our fraternity. We talk about the Muslim population, 25%, expected to grow to be 30% in the next 25 years. And we can see the growth of business as well, where we have a lot of opportunity for business to grow. Looking into the Islamic finance, halal food, fashion, we talk about pharmaceutical, we talk about the healthcare, and all of this contributed to the demand of the Sharia-compliant investment. So just take a look at the ASEAN perspective and ASEAN context, where we know that population, the world population, ASEAN is contributing around 10% of the global population. It's quite a huge number. And I believe this will accelerate the growth of Islamic capital market as well. So don't worry about the demand. Just continue to find out what is the right instrument to develop your own capital market. So if we take a look at the other external factor of what's happening in the world, the demand is also taken into consideration from the ESG perspective. The ESG is one of the consideration and the new risk appetite that being given by the investors today. So we can tap this, we need to converge this and bring it to the Islamic finance, and we can create the good instrument and even the better instrument for it. And the next slides also mention about the appetite of the young investors. Young investors is very sensitive, especially towards the social media. They are very keen toward ESG investment. And this is another opportunity that should be tapped by Islamic capital market fraternity. So by having that, ladies and gentlemen, what happened today, even though the growth and the achievement of our Islamic capital market in Malaysia is considerably good, but we cannot be complacent. We need to drive and move forward. We need to continue to improve. We need to continue to make sure that what we are doing today, we want to have a better world for the next generation. So that is why when we take a look at the Islamic capital market, currently we try to explore not only looking at what we have today, but we are looking into what should we achieve in the future. So that is why currently we try to do whatever what we have today. We continue to have the breadth and depth of our Islamic capital market. But in the same time, currently, we are looking into expanding what is Islamic capital market and what is Islamic finance all about. We need the new fundamental to drive the Islamic capital market forward. So that is why the next slide mentioning about what we launched back in 2023, where we launched our Maqasid Sharia framework, or we call it Maqasid Sharia guidance, as a fundamental to advance our Islamic capital market. So these are the aspirations and principles. We want to take a look at the holistic perspective, not only take into considerations about the riba, not only take into consideration about uncertainty and gambling. We are looking into the entirety and holistic perspective of Islamic capital market. Look at the value judgment of each contract that we have. For example, we want to make sure, even though our contract is good, our contract is valid, we want to make sure it's also impactful, not only for the society, not only for the parties that have been involved, to the society, to the environment, to the future generations. That's why we create this framework as our fundamental to move forward, to bring Islamic capital market a new place and a new position in the future. So after the launch of our guidance, it's quite interesting. Our approach is not mandatory. We don't want to have the greenwashing factor. We don't have what we call as maqasid washing. But what we want to try to do is to continue give the awareness towards the industry. It is a voluntary adoption. It is good to say that 69 submissions of our sukuk for the last 2 years, or consists around 75% of our submission of sukuk, already aligned with the Maqasid Sharia. And inshallah this year, we will coming out with our guidance note. Guidance note related to sukuk, to come out what will be the indicators, what is the holistic perspective of the Sharia looking into the sukuk itself, other than just focusing on the riba, gharar and maisir. This is another future implementations that we are looking at, as well as indicators guidance for the entity. We are looking to explore what will be the good indicators for the companies to have the mindset, Islamic business mindset. For example, the things that we are looking forward is how we want to cater the greediness of the businesses. They are already talking about the profit maximization. Now, we want to teach them, put and cultivate the mindsets that, yes, you can have the profit, but you must have a responsible profit rather than you just focus on the profit maximization without taking care of other consideration. Don't be too individualistic or materialistic in this matter. But we need some journey towards of it. We need some education and awareness how to cultivate this kind of culture. Next slides mention about the involvement of Sharia screening. So I think the recent development, last year, our process of screening the equities under the public listed company in Bursa Malaysia, actually is quite straightforward. It's a regulator-led Sharia screening. We take the annual report of each of the public listed company. We screen based on the formulations given by our Sharia advisors. Then we bring it to our Sharia Advisory Council to endorse whether it's Sharia compliant or not. But this time around, we change the process. We don't want to have the top-down process anymore. We want the awareness coming from the bottom. We ask all the public listed company now to disclose all the information related to the formulations given by our Sharia Advisory Council. Now they are aware how to be Sharia compliant. Previously, they don't aware. They just give the financial report to us, then we screen compliant or not compliant. Now, the disclosure is required for them. When they make the disclosure, they ask a lot of questions. How to be Sharia compliant? What is the formulation? Now, they know how to move forward to gain the confidence against the Islamic investors. So these are part of how we want to advance our Islamic capital market. Next slide. I'm going to skip this slide. I think probably they will be distributed later. I believe you can read it from this slide. Next slide, please. I will skip this slide. And the other slide, next slide. It was also related, in relations to the halal economy. We're also giving our footage towards the micro, small, and medium enterprises. As I mentioned, we talk about capital market normally associated with the rich and the super rich people. We want to bring it down. We want to make sure everyone feels the goodness of the Islamic capital market. So we want to encourage our micro, small, and medium enterprises to also understand the screening process. End up, when this company getting big, and they go for the public listed company, they already know and understand what is Sharia compliant all about. So the cultivation culture on the Islamic capital market should be started not during their IPO or offering time, but we cultivate this culture before it started. So next slide talk about how we want to advance our Islamic capital market. Number one is to make sure that they not only a regulatory perspective we are looking at. In SC, we want to make sure that any regulation and development move in tandem. We must make sure it moves simultaneously. We must make sure that any regulatory approach doesn't dilute or violate our current Islamic capital market achievement. So we need ecosystem building, we need a good governance, we need a top-down and bottom-up balance to make sure that the ecosystem is created for the goodness of society. Number two, we talk about national maturity to the cross-border connectivity. Ladies and gentlemen, Islamic finance is not only for Malaysia. Even though we achieve a tremendous achievement, we don't say this is exclusive for us. Islamic finance is for all. Islamic finance is for the Muslim community. Islamic finance is also for the humanity itself. So we want to serve the humanity through Islamic finance value. We must have the cross-border connectivity among us. Well, we must make sure that everything that we do, we try to get a win-win solution. We come here not to proud of ourselves. We come here also to help our brothers and sisters in Philippines to make sure you can also develop your own Islamic capital market. So cross-border connectivity is very important. We need to continue the dialogue, find out the solution, how the regulatory can help in this manner. Next slides mention about what can we do to always get the confidence from the public on the Islamic capital market themselves. Number one, we must have the thought leadership process. Research, Innovation is very crucial in this particular space. Don't stop to have that. We must continue to have any advancement. Do whatever dialogue, roundtable discussion with the research in the university, for example, with academia. Go for any research house. Engage as much as possible the stakeholders to make sure we can continue our thought leadership. This is what Malaysia is doing. We try to keep what we do in the thought leadership process. And at the same time, don't forget the continuous education and awareness need to be preserved. Ladies and gentlemen, we must regard Islamic finance movement not as a commercial move. We must take it as the Muslim community move towards the humanity. This is our responsibility. This is our da'wah towards bringing the humanity back to the values that have been cultivated in the Quran and in the Sunnah of the Prophet, peace be upon him. So we need to continue to have the market governance. We must have the investors' awareness towards it. And as a conclusion, I would say that, as I mentioned just now in the introduction, I already mentioned about the gap in the society. Even though the capital market is more focused on the rich and the super rich people, we need to bring it down. We must make sure that all the circulation in economy must begin through the right process of it. As mentioned in the Holy Quran, Kaila yakuna dulatan bainal aghniya'i minkum. We don't want this wealth is only circulated among the rich. We must make sure anything that we do will be feel at the ground as well. So that is why in our aspirations number 6 of our Maqasid framework, we mentioned clearly about the accessibility and inclusivity, where our target is to give more opportunity of participation. For example, in the next, I think this year or next year, we're probably coming out, which every sukuk issuance must have the retail participation. You know, to subscribe into sukuk, you need a certain threshold. You must have a lot of money to subscribe and buy the sukuk. But now with the retail participation, probably every one of us can buy a sukuk and gain the benefit from it. That's number 1. Number 2, looking into the distribution. As mentioned by the previous session, talk about the zakat and wakaf. How we want to cultivate this under the product of Islamic capital market. And number 3, talk about the principle of nurturing the business with the supportive ecosystem. We are talking about how to enhance our micro, small and medium enterprises to bring them into the next level. So this is the aspirations taken from our guidance. We hope that it also serve not only for Malaysian market, but also can serve for the humanity as a whole. I think with that, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.